So welcome back alias, this is Navin Reddy from Telusko Learnings, and in this video we'll talk about async task. So in the theory we have already seen what is async task, right? So let's say you are using an app in which, or you are creating an app in which you want to send a request to a server and you want to get some data from the server. So of course it will take some time to get the response, right? So what we'll do is we'll ask another thread to send the request, and that another thread is your async task. Right? So how we can achieve that is, if you have to get a new project, and in your project you have to create an activity will use async task. But before going for all those stuff, since I'm making this video after a very long time compared to the last video, I have updated my Android Studio. So if I check my Android Studio now, so I'm using 2.1, okay, which is the latest release now. So it is released on April 22nd. Okay, so you can also upgrade your Android Studio if you have not done yet. So we'll create a project. We'll name this project as demo async. Okay, and we'll say next. We can select minimum SDK as 4.4. That will do. It will cover 70% of devices. More than enough, right? We can click on next, and here I will create an empty activity. So let's select an empty activity here, and we'll click on next. We can create a main activity. Okay, so what we'll be doing here is, what's our main intention here is, if I go to my if I go to google.com, or if I go to my website, so I have a website telusko.com slash, I have created a service here which is addition of two numbers. So I can say addition.htm, and if I can pass two values, one is t1 is 3 and t2 is 6, and if I say enter, it gives me the response which is 18. So we are getting, or not, this is not addition, this is multiplication, right? That's different. So that's the mistake I have done. So this is not addition, this is multiplication. So the name is addition, and so as you can see, the name is addition, but it is doing multiplication. That's the mistake I have done here. So this is a async request. So what we'll do is we'll create an application in which we'll ask a user to enter two numbers, and we'll provide the multiplication of those two numbers. Okay, and the logic, how it is multiplying the number, that doesn't matter, right? Because we are sending a request to the server will multiply those two numbers and you will get the response. Now logic can be anything, doesn't matter what the logic is, right? What's important is you're getting some data from the server. Okay, so we want to demonstrate async task here. So we'll try to demonstrate this with the help of, we'll send a request to this website or to this link by passing two values, right? And then we can get the value, we can get the output, right? So to that, open your Android Studio. First we'll create a design here. Okay, so we have to use two text field, with two edit text and one button. So when you click on this button, it will send the request, right? So for that, what we'll do is, I have already created a design so that we will not waste any time here. And this design is very simple, it's not a big headache. So I have just taken, that's weird. Can I format it? Refactor. How to format this? We'll say we had an option of format, right? So let me just, okay. So I'm done with the refactor or the formatting here. So we got these two things here, which is, let me just verify if my recording is working. It's working. So okay. Yeah. So now we can see we have two edit text, which is in which we are asking for. So this will ask you for the first number. So this is how we create edit text, right? Nothing much here. I've just created a form in which I'm creating two edit text. So this is the first one, this is the second one. We have an ID which is num1, we have num2, and this is the button. This is not add now, this is multiplication. Okay, this is multiplication, right? And that's a very big name, right? And then we can give any number, doesn't matter, right? So we can say any name here, and yeah, that's it from the view. So what we'll do is we'll try to add a hint here which will act as a placeholder. I will say this is first number, so that it will know that we need to enter a number, and this will be hint second number. Okay, so we got a design here. Now to work with this, we need a Java file, right, in which you have to do lots of stuff now. So be mentally prepared, it's a very big code. So let's start with the first thing. So we require two text field, right, or two edit text. So we'll say edit text num1 comma num2, so we have to take two numbers, and we also require a button, so we'll say button btn. So once we're done with this, we need to import the package, control space That's done. Now we need to first initialize those objects, right? So we need to initialize num1, num2, and button. So what we'll do is we'll come here. We'll say num1 equal to how to fetch the name. So we'll say find view by ID r.id.num1. So I think by this time you have been expert in, now you're expert in this stuff, right? We are doing this from last, I guess, 7 to 8 videos. So we'll do the same thing. We'll say editText, find view by ID, and we'll say r.id.num2. Okay, we got those two stuff here, num1, num2, and then we need to create object for button also. We'll say this is btn. Okay, btn equal to this will be button, right? And then we'll say find view by ID, in which you have to mention r.id. This will be btn add. That's showing a multiplication, but that's okay. And then we need to add the listener to the button, right? So we have to say button dot. So when you enter these two values, we have to click on a button, right? So we'll say this is on set on click listener, in which you have to pass the object of on click listener. Not that one. On click. That's weird. This is on click listener, not from the dialog, but from the view, right? And then we'll call. Okay, that's weird. Oh. Okay, we need to give the brackets, and then we'll say enter. So this is where you have to create. Oh, we are forgetting one thing here, which is new. In fact, I should write everything from start so that we'll get the exact thing. So we'll say this is new on click listener. This is what we want, right? So when you click on this button, which is btn add, which is multiplication, it will call on click, right? So don't get confused with this add. It is actually multiplication, but since I have taken the design in add, so we are going for add here. So when you click on this button, it should fetch those two values, right? So the values which is entered in the first one and the second one. Now how to fetch those values? We'll say this, the first value will go into I. We'll say this is integer. So that is integer dot pass int, in which we'll specify this is num1 dot get text. That's how you fetch the value, right? Not this one, but get text. And then to fetch the value, we'll say toString, which will actually fetch the string value out of it. And we can do the same stuff for the second variable, which is j. So let me just copy this and we'll paste it here. And we'll name this as j. Okay, and this will be coming from num2. Okay, so now once we got those two values, now what next? We have done all the possible things we can do, right? We can also add those two values here. So what we can do is we can say int k equal to I plus j, and then we can show the output, right? We can show a toast, but that's not the actual intention here. We don't want to, or not add, we need to multiply, right? So we don't want to multiply those two values here. We want to multiply those values on the server. So on the server side, we have already created a service. By passing two values, we can just get the multiplication, right? Again, how to do this? You can use PHP project. You can use, doesn't matter which technology you use for server. You can use PHP. You can use JSP. You can use what? You can use ASP. Doesn't matter. You can have any server. In fact, in maybe if you want, I will create one video in which I will explain you how to create a server. Okay, so if you want that thing, just comment in the comment section. If you want that server coding also, I will do that for you. Okay, so time being, we are getting the output, right? We are getting the value which is on the web browser, but we want that value here. So how to fetch that thing? For that, what we'll do is we'll create a async task. Now question arises, how to get an async task? So I will say enter. So async task is created with the help of subclass or the inner class. So we'll say public class. We can give any name here. So we'll say this is multitask. That's multiplication, multiplied task. Okay, that's what we want to multiply two numbers, right? And this class need to extend to something called as async task, which will ask you for three generic values. First, the type of parameters. Second, the progress bar update, or what your do background will send, and the result, the type of results. right? So we have to specify. For this example, I'm taking all string. I mean, the output will be string, the update will be string, and everything will be string here. Okay, so now there's an error here. What the error says? Error is so AsyncTask is a abstract class, so that means you need to override all those methods, right? So what we can do is we can just click on this bubble. Where's the bubble? And we'll say it's not coming. Okay, let's do it by ourselves. Let's define those three methods here. So those three methods are, okay. So we can type, we have one more way. What we can do is we can ask for the generation. So we'll say generate. Okay, we can go for override methods. So we need to use three methods here. One is onPreExecute, onPostExecute, and we'll be using doInBackground. Okay, so what this onPreExecute does is, so when you send a request, or when you want to send the request to the server, if you want to do some housekeeping stuff, like before sending the request, if you want to do some stuff, you can do it in onPreExecute. After getting the response, you can use onPostExecute, and when you want to send the request, you can use doInBackground. So most important method is this one, doInBackground. So what we'll do is doInBackground, inside this method, we need to send a request to the server, right? So how to send a request now? So before sending a request, you have to specify the URL name. So what we'll do is we'll say this is, so we can pass the URL from somewhere. So we'll say this is, so let's store the URL somewhere. So we'll say this is strURL equal to, let me just copy this and we'll paste it here. So that's the URL we have. We'll keep this in double quotes, right? Okay, and then we can simply use that URL here. So how to create that URL object? So you have to say URL, which comes from java.net package, and we'll say this is URL equal to new URL, in which you have to mention the URL. So I'll say this is string URL. Okay, so you have to mention the URL here. So it has some exception, it may throw an exception, so we'll say this is, so we need to handle the exception. Okay, let's use try catch. So we'll say try, and we'll say catch, which will handle all the exception. Okay, and we'll print the error in case if you have any error. Let's print E. Right, so we have to specify the URL. The next step is we need to send the request using HTTP URL connection. We'll say this is the object as con equal to, so in order to send that, we need to use this. So we have to say URL dot open connection. Okay, so we need to use this method. So this URL object has a method called as open connection, and it will return you the object of HTTP. So that's HTTP URL connection. That's done. So this is where you have specified the URL. This is where you have to open the connection. The next step is you have to specify the type of method you're working with. You're working with a get method, or you're working with the post method. So how to mention that? You have to say connection con, which is con dot set request method, and in double quotes we can say this is the type of get request, and then we can simply say con dot connect. Now once you're connected, so you have actually sent the request to the server. Okay, and now once we have sent the request, now you want to get the output also, right? So to get the response from the server, we will use buffer reader. Okay, so we use buffer reader to get the output. If you don't know what is buffer reader, you can just go to my channel, Telusko Learning, and search for the video on buffer reader. So you can actually search for, let me show you how to get that. So just go to YouTube and search for buffer reader in Java, and just mention Telusko at the end so that you will get my video. So you can just see this video to understand how buffer reader works. And we'll say this is BF equal to new buffered reader, in which you have to mention new input stream reader, and in bracket you have to mention this is this is con dot get input stream. So we need to specify from where you are getting the input, right? Now once we got that, let's fetch the value from the user or from the server. How to fetch that? We can simply say string value equal to bf dot read line. Okay, so using read line you can fetch the input from the, you can fetch the response from the server, right? Now once we got the value, let's print it. So first step we'll just print it just to see if you're getting the output. We'll say result is, we'll print the value here. Okay, so we are not printing anything anyway, we're just printing on the console. Now I think it will work. Let's try. But before, how it will work, because we are not yet calling this multitask, right? So we need to call this multitask first. And how to call that? We'll just get the object of multitask, and using that object we'll call a method which is execute. So execute is a method using which you can actually call something. We can actually call you can actually send a request to the server, right? So you have to say execute. So this is the method who will send a request, which is AsyncTask request. And in this you can just mention nothing, that will work. So if you call this execute, it will automatically call all these methods, including doInBackground, which will send a request to the server, and then you will be getting the response, right? Let's try. Let's see if it is working or not. Let's run in Nexus 5x. Okay. It will take some time to load. Let me open my Nexus phone here. Okay, is it loading? It is loading there. Taking a lot of time. So it should open now. It is installing APK, launching activity, and here we go. It is, yeah. So we got this view, right? So let's enter two values. Let's say this is 4 and 3. Click on multiplication button. Okay, something is happened here. Oh, we need to specify the permissions also, right? See, we got an error here which is missing internet permission. How to fix that? You just have to go to manifest, and here we can just mention users permission. Okay, and here we can specify, oh, that's weird, we can specify internet permission. I don't know why it's coming. We just have to specify the internet connection or internet permission, right? Now let's run this. So is it loading? It's loading, it's loading. Okay, here we go. We have, let's say, 4 and 6. If I click on this multiplication, request is sent to the server, and can you see that? We got the output as 18. So the input values are 4 and 6. Oh, why are you getting 18 when you're sending 4 and 6? It's because if you see the activity here, see the values we are passing. We are passing here 3 and 6. So of course you will be getting 18, right? But the thing is, doesn't matter what input you are giving, we are getting the output, right? But I want to change this now. How to change it? We can just copy this here. Okay. And once you set the value, so once you got two values, we can replace that string URL here. Okay, we'll say Control V. We need to change this from 3 to I. So we'll say this is, so let's set I here, and this should be J, right? So now what we'll do is we have set the numbers, right? Let's run this once again just to prove that it will work now. It will take some time to load again. Okay, so let's send these two values and let's search for result. Oh, is it loaded? I don't think so. Let's run this once again. So now let's try that. Let's enter two values. Let's say 6 and 8, which is 48, right? So if I click on multiplication, can you see that we got the output as 48, right? Because it will now depend upon our input values, right? So this is how you can fetch the value from the server. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll have already set the value in value, right? What we can do is we can directly set, or we can directly show a toast but I want to show a toast once the processing is complete totally. So for that, what we'll do is we'll create a string variable which is result. Initially the value of result will be blank, and once I got this value here, when you send a request, I will set this value. So I will say result equal to value, right? And so when you say you are completed, that means I want to use post request, and in this post request I will use a toast. I will say toast.make, in which I will mention this is main activity dot this, that's the context. Next we'll say the output is, I will say plus, which is the result, and then we'll set the last value, which is the duration, right? So we'll say this is toast, and we'll keep it long because we have done lots of hard work, right? So let's see the output for a longer time, and let's see if it is working or not. I think it should work now. So we are waiting for that. Restarted the application. Here we go. Let's say 9 and 33 is a bigger number. Click on multiplication, and we are missing something, and we missed that method which is .show. Let's run this again. I don't know why I missed this method once again, and it's been, so I need to count next time, how many times I'm forgetting this show method at the end of toast. Okay, did I run it? Okay, let's run this. Okay, is it? Where is the app? Then in 2.1 we have this feature of launching the activity as soon as you have made the changes. So let's make it 88 multiplication, and here we go. Can you see the toast? The output is 440, and trust me, that's the real answer, right? So that's the multiplication of 5 and 88. So this is how you can achieve async tasks. So not just this, you can fetch the data from Facebook server, you can fetch the data from WhatsApp or your Twitter. So it does that. They should provide you the text format. In fact, let's do that. Let's fetch not my website. Let's say I want to fetch google.com data. So I will say this is google.com. You can fetch the whole website, right? The text of the website. I don't know if it will work or not. Let's try. So let's say I'm passing these values. Oh, we are getting some. I think we are getting a very big data. Oh, protocol not found google.com. Let's say this is http:// Now find it. Okay, applied. Oh, can you see that? This is the Google page. I don't know how much of you seen that. So this is the Google page, the complete Google page. So you can fetch any data from the server. And while fetching the data, even if it is taking some time to give the response, your app will not get freeze because we are using a new thread altogether. Okay, let me just do undo here. Okay, so that's one way. The another way is you can actually pass this string from here itself. We can say this is string URL because there are some websites which prefer to send the URL here, and the advantage will be in this params you have that str now. So instead of specifying str URL here, you can actually use params. From params you can fetch the first index value, which is 0, right? The first value from the params. That's one way. You can do one more thing. Instead of returning null here, you can actually return the result. Okay, now this result, so this result will go to this s here, and instead of printing result here, we can actually send s, right? Even this thing will work. Let's run this. Let's see if it's working or not. So changes are applied, right? And if I click on multiplication, we got 440, right? It's that simple. So yeah, that's it from this video. So we have talked about async task. So when you work with async task, you have to create a class which is inner class, in which you have to extend with async task class, and you have to work with these 3 methods: pre-execute, post-execute, doInBackground, and all the stuff. So that's it from this video. Thanks so much for watching, and do subscribe for further videos.